Hey there, today is Tuesday, April the 12th. We're reading Judges 9 through 11. We're reading Psalm 17 and Luke 23, several places. We're continuing this journey through the Old Testament. I say that every day because what we're doing, I want to remind you of why we're talking only the Old Testament things. It's because we want to know the history of God's people, and there are so many biblical principles, kingdom concepts that come out of the Old Testament that still apply today. They still work today. We didn't just change in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We didn't just switch gears and, well, Jesus now, everything's different. It goes away. We still live in this kingdom that has lasted since the beginning of creation and will last until the end of eternity. And we can pull concepts from this Old Testament stuff. In Judges 9, 10, and 11, in Judges 10, we are introduced to a new person. There's new people through the book of Judges. A new one comes in Judges 10 named Jephthah. Jephthah is this warrior. He leads the people into battle. He goes and he fights. It says in chapter 11, verse 1, he was a mighty warrior even. His father was Gilead. His mother was a prostitute. He had a kind of a rough background, maybe you might say. But Jephthah goes and he fights on behalf of the people. In the end of chapter 11 is what I really want to draw your attention to, because Jephthah makes an unwise choice. But then he follows through on what he committed to, because he knows the value of a vow as well. In chapter 11, it says that Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. This is verse number 30. He made a vow to the Lord. He said, "If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's." Okay, that makes sense. I commit things that I own, things that I have, people in my life, I commit them to the Lord. I remember when my son was first born, my wife and I stood in front of a church in Angola, Indiana, and we held him there, and we dedicated our son to the Lord. We committed to raise him as we were, as Christian parents, followers of Jesus, leading him to follow Jesus himself, praying that he would someday be gifted with and have the potential of being greater in the kingdom of heaven and leading people far greater than his mother and father do. And we've committed him to the Lord since an early age. He's 17 now. We still continue to commit him. But Jephthah adds something. He says, "I will commit it to the Lord. It'll be the Lord's. And I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering." And I can tell you, I've never promised to sacrifice my son as a burnt offering. I've not done that. But Jephthah did. Jephthah goes off to battle. He wins the battle. He comes back home. He's triumphant. He's excited. And it says down in verse 34, when Jephthah came back to his home, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing and being excited. She was an only child. This is his only kid. She comes out. And Jephthah says, "Oh no, my daughter, you've brought me down and I'm devastated. I made a vow to the Lord I cannot break." This is a tough passage, guys. Jephthah made a vow. When I come home, if the Lord gives me victory, when I come home, everything will be dedicated to the Lord as a burnt offering that comes out the door of my house. He comes home, his only child, his daughter, who he loves, comes out the door, and he says, "What am I going to do?" We could talk all day long about burnt offerings, about sacrifice, about human sacrifice, about all these things. By the way, God does not condone human sacrifice, but we could talk about all these things all day long. What Jephthah did, though, was he followed through on his vow. His daughter went off to the hills with her friends for a while, and she mourned and grieved the future she would never have. She came back, and it says at the end of chapter 11 that he did to her as he had vowed to do. He sacrificed her. I don't want to debate with you about human sacrifice and about all these different things here. What I want to talk about is making vows. And just real briefly here, when you promise God something, God expects you to follow through. When you tell Jesus that you will surrender yourself to him, he will rescue you from the death you deserve and rescue you back to life, and you accept that and you surrender yourself as a vow to the Lord, he expects you to follow through. So many times we follow Jesus as though it's a convenient thing. When it's easy, when it's convenient, I'll do so, but when it's not, I'll run away. But Jesus expects us to follow through on our vows. When we vow, before friends and family, before God, that we will love our spouse till death do us part. God expects us to follow through. Now, I know the world's broken and sin comes in. Not everything is your fault or my fault, and things happen, but God expects you to follow through. I just want to encourage you right here to step outside of Jephthah's context for a second. I want to encourage you to consider whether the vows you've made to God, the promises you made to God, whether you are fulfilling those or not. And I want to caution you to be very careful that when you promise something to God, you follow through, because He will expect it. Because when a covenant happens, the greater, that's God, accepts the lesser, that's you, that's me. God promises everything that He has. We promise everything that we are, and we both follow through. There's no contractual loopholes to get out of. We both follow through. You made a promise to follow God. It's time to go follow God in your works, your ways, and your words. Until I see you again, you are sent.